chosen one. As the evidence stacks up and witnesses come forward, someone's actions have left people clutching pearls, shocked that you have to experience this abuse. While you were focused on healing and wondering if the truth would ever surface, the divine was documenting every transgression. Justice is being served so completely that the very people who witnessed your suffering will now stand in awe of your vindication. Your period of silent endurance is over. Your season of undeniable justice has begun. Think about walking into a toxic workplace. Day one, you see it clearly. The gossip, the backstabbing, the darkness. You tell yourself you're different. You won't become that. But humans are adaptable creatures. We survive by becoming like our environment. So day by day you slip into it, not because you're weak, because you're wired to survive. That's what happened in that relationship. You didn't choose darkness. You were systematically dragged into it. So slowly you didn't realize you were drowning, until water filled your lungs. Your mind was doubted. Your love was weaponized against you. You were convinced that up was down, and your pain was imagination. That's not love. That's warfare. Your shadow took the driver's seat for a while. Yes, you did things you're not proud of. You became someone you didn't recognize. You fought back in ways that haunted you later, and all of that was used against you. Someone labeled your reactions to abuse as abuse itself. Someone showed the moments you broke to people as proof of your instability. Someone built a narrative where you were the villain and they were the suffering saint. People believed it. Your friends questioned you. Your family doubted you. You started believing it yourself. But that shadow season doesn't make you bad, chosen one. It makes you human. It makes you someone who was fighting for their life in an environment designed to destroy them. You weren't attracting abuse because of some character flaw. You were targeted because you had light. Abusers don't go after broken people. Abusers go after people with something worth taking. People with resources, people with energy, people with love to give. Someone spotted an unhealed wound in you, that childhood thing you thought you dealt with, that abandonment issue you didn't know you carried, that pattern you inherited from your lineage. Someone saw it and exploited it with surgical precision. Right now, something is unfolding that connects to everything I'm about to tell you. There are people gathering evidence you don't know about, conversations happening in rooms you're not in, patterns being documented by investigators who've seen this before. Someone has been watching. Maybe multiple someones, maybe law enforcement, maybe a group of other victims, maybe a governmental body. But someone is connecting dots. And here's the part that's going to blow your mind later. You weren't the first. You weren't even the second or third. There's a pattern spanning relationships, jobs, situations, always the same tactics, always the same ending, always the same claims of being misunderstood. And there's a file thick, like a phone book. Police reports from multiple people, statements describing identical behaviors, evidence of illegal activities you turned a blind eye to because you loved someone, documentation of abuse spanning duration and victims, and it all points to one person. The person who convinced you that you were crazy. The person who made you believe that if you just loved better, tried harder, understood more deeply, things would improve. Nothing improved. The problem was never you. This person is carrying something heavy right now. The weight of lies that can't stay straight anymore. The burden of maintaining an image that's crumbling. They're trying to hold up a house of cards in a hurricane, and sloppiness is setting in. Contradictions are emerging. Too much is being revealed in moments of panic. Friends are starting to notice inconsistencies. Family is seeing cracks. A new partner is spotting red flags. The web is unraveling. And here's the hook, the thing that's going to matter more than anything else. They're preparing to strike first. They know something is coming. They can feel the walls closing in. So, they're getting ready to flip the script one more time. You'll be made the villain before the truth reveals the monster. This person might be preparing legal action against you, not because there's a case, but because that's what cornered animals do. They attack. They're teaming up with someone. Maybe a lawyer, maybe a friend who believes their lies, maybe a new partner who doesn't know the truth yet. Someone willing to help them destroy your credibility before you destroy their reputation. They're going to claim you bullied them, coerced them, forced them into things. They'll call you the controlling one, the manipulative one, the dangerous one. They're rewriting history to save themselves. But here's what they don't know. The evidence doesn't support their story. The timeline doesn't match. The details keep changing. And there are people examining all of it with skeptical eyes. People who've seen this pattern before. People who know what abusers do when exposure looms. People who are building a case so airtight that no amount of manipulation can escape it. Things hidden in darkness are being dragged into light. Secrets buried deep are being unearthed. Lies believed for years are being exposed. And this exposure is going to be a tower moment for them. Everything they built on deception is about to crumble spectacularly. When people find out what you really went through, their reactions are going to stun you. They'll clutch their pearls. Their mouths will hang open. How did you survive this? How did you endure that daily and still function? Still go to work? Still smile? Still pretend everything was fine? How are you still standing? How are you still kind? How do you still believe in love after experiencing that? And the answer is going to make sense to you finally. You're a chosen one. You were built different. Your spirit is stronger than abuse could ever be. Your light couldn't be extinguished, no matter how hard someone tried to blow it out. The shock on their faces when they learn the details is going to be visceral. Their jaws will drop, their eyes will widen, they'll lean back in their chairs like being physically pushed. Because what you endured wasn't just difficult. It wasn't just a bad relationship. It was calculated destruction. It was systematic dismantling of a human being. And when people grasped the full scope of what happened to you while you still showed up to work, still smiled at gatherings, still functioned in society, comprehension won't come easily. Someone is going to ask you how you managed to keep going, how you woke up every morning in that environment and still put one foot in front of the other, how you survived mental torture and still maintained your sanity. And you might not have an answer because you were on autopilot. Your body was in survival mode while your spirit was somewhere else entirely. You dissociated just to function. You compartmentalized just to breathe. You became someone else just to endure another day. If this resonates with your inner knowing, hype this video to help fellow chosen ones find their way here. The human spirit has a capacity for resilience that defies logic. You can break someone down to almost nothing, and there will still be a spark that refuses to die. That spark in you was targeted. Water was poured on it. It was smothered. Everything possible was done to snuff it out completely. But it kept flickering, kept fighting for oxygen, kept burning even when it was barely visible. And now that spark is becoming a flame again. And that flame is becoming a fire. And that fire is going to illuminate everything hidden in darkness. People learning about this situation right now are struggling to reconcile two versions of reality. The public version where someone seemed charming, successful, put together, and the private version where a monster existed behind closed doors. The cognitive dissonance is making heads spin. How could someone who seemed so normal be capable of such cruelty? How could someone who presented as loving and devoted be systematically destroying a partner? How could someone everyone trusted be living a double life. This is the nature of abuse that shocks people most. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't wear a sign. It doesn't look like what people expect. The most dangerous abusers are the ones who appear normal. The ones who have jobs and friends and family who would swear good character. The ones who can turn on charm for an audience and turn into someone unrecognizable the moment doors close. That's what you were dealing with. A performer. Someone who knew exactly which mask to wear and when to wear it. And now, masks are coming off in public. Now people are seeing what you saw in private. Now the person others thought existed is revealing someone entirely different. And shock is registering on every face. At gatherings, someone who knows both parties will pull someone else aside and whisper what was learned, and that person's face will transform. Confusion, disbelief, horror, then acceptance as pieces click into place. Those times you seemed distant. Those occasions you made excuses and left early. Those moments something seemed off but couldn't be named. It all makes sense now. There's a particular kind of shock that comes from learning someone close is an abuser. It's not just surprise. It's a fundamental shaking of understanding of reality. If this person could fool me, who else has fooled me? If I couldn't see this happening right in front of me, what else am I not seeing? The friends who failed to recognize what you were going through are experiencing their own trauma now. The guilt of not knowing, the shame of not asking better questions, the horror of realizing contribution might have been made to your suffering by believing lies. But you didn't fail to see abuse while you were in it. You saw it clearly. Your body knew. Your intuition screamed. Your spirit recognized danger. What others call shock, you were calling reality. What others discover now you've known all along. The difference is you were the only one brave enough to name it, to call it what it was, to stop pretending, to stop protecting someone who was destroying you. And that bravery is about to be recognized in ways you never imagined. Now, let me put you onto something real. Destiny Engine. I built this because I was done watching chosen ones get dragged through betrayal, isolation and attacks, while their enemies strutted around unchecked. I want to help you accelerate the speed of your divine justice and step fully into your purpose. And the beauty of it, you don't even have to lift a finger. Destiny Engine takes their downfall and flips it into your rise. This isn't another meditation app. It's declassified consciousness technology. The same mind programming tools your enemies once used to install fear, competition and scarcity, re-engineered to restore your sovereignty and align you with the cooperative, upgraded operating framework. It generates personalized sequences mapped to your divine purpose. The hardest thing you'll do is put on headphones, press play, and watch your enemies keep digging their own grave. The collective upgrade is underway. Start your Destiny Engine for $1 today and turn everything they did to break you into fuel for your rise. Link in the description. Someone in a position of authority is looking at your case right now with fresh eyes. They're seeing patterns they missed before. They're connecting incidents they thought were isolated. They're realizing this person has been operating with impunity for far too long. And they're angry. Not at you, at themselves for not catching it sooner. At a system that allowed this to continue. At a society that made it so hard for you to be believed that you almost didn't try. This anger is productive. This anger is fuel. This anger is going to drive action that results in consequences. Real consequences. Not just social fallout, not just damaged reputation, but tangible accountability, financial penalties, legal restrictions, official documentation that will follow this person, a record that can't be erased or explained away, a mark that will make it harder for them to do this to someone else, and you'll be the catalyst for that, even if you never meant to be. The shock extends to the duration. When people learn it wasn't just a few bad moments, when they discover it was sustained over extended time, when they realize you endured this for a period that feels incomprehensible, questions come flooding. Why didn't you leave sooner? Why didn't you tell someone? Why didn't you ask for help? And these questions come from people who've never experienced the psychological prison that is an abusive relationship. People who don't understand that leaving is the most dangerous time. That telling invites retaliation. That asking for help means admitting you need it. You had reasons for staying that made sense in the context of your situation. Financial dependence, maybe shared responsibilities, fear of what would happen if you tried to escape, hope that change would come if you just loved enough, belief that fixing could happen if you just understood better, shame at the idea of admitting failure, concern about what people would think. All of these reasons are valid. All of these reasons make sense when you're in it, and none of these reasons make you weak or stupid or complicit in your own abuse. But people who haven't lived it don't get it. They think in simple terms. They think you should have just left. They think it's obvious what you should have done. They think they would have handled it differently until it happens to them, until they're the ones being manipulated, until they're the ones being isolated, until someone convinces them that reality isn't real. Then they understand. Then they see how it happens. Then they stop asking why you stayed and start asking how you survived. You probably told people bits and pieces over time. You dropped hints. You made comments. You tested the waters. And maybe they minimized it. Maybe they said all relationships have problems. Maybe they suggested trying harder or recommended counseling like that fixes systematic abuse. So you learned to make your story smaller, more digestible, less disturbing. You protected other people from the weight of your pain. You edited out the worst parts. You skimmed over the most damaging incidents. You made excuses for their behavior. You did their work for them. You protected them at your own expense. But you don't have to do that anymore. The truth is coming out with or without you. This person hasn't changed. They're still doing the same things to different people right now. They're still leaving destruction in their wake. They're still playing victim in every story. They're still refusing to look in the mirror. They're still blaming everyone else. The patterns are identical, the tactics unchanged. And patterns are evidence. When one person says you're abusive, it's concerning. When 3 say it, it's a pattern. When 5 say it, it's undeniable. When 10 say it, it's a prosecutable case. And there are more than 10 people who could tell identical stories about this person. More than 10 who experienced the same manipulation, lies, cruelty, abuse. Someone in law enforcement has noticed this pattern. There's been time between your relationship and their current situations. Duration has passed, and their behavior is exactly the same, which means they were doing this before you too. There's a file somewhere in some police database on some investigator's desk. Multiple reports, multiple incidents, multiple victims, all describing the same person doing the same things. They might have been involved in illegal activities you didn't want to see. Things you convinced yourself weren't serious. Things you made excuses for. And those activities are catching up to them. Now, the professional people examining this case are not asking why you stayed. Knowledge exists of why. This pattern has been seen enough times to understand the dynamics. Knowledge exists about trauma bonding, about learned helplessness, about the cycle of abuse. Knowledge exists of how abusers operate, the tactics unknown, the isolation, the financial control, the emotional manipulation, the intermittent reinforcement, the love bombing, followed by devaluation. All of it is known, and a case is being built based on that knowledge. What's shocking to professionals is the severity, the frequency, the calculation behind it. Someone didn't just lose temper occasionally. Bad days didn't just happen. Sometimes tactics were systematically implemented, designed to break you down. What worked was studied. The approach was refined. Hurting you got better over time. That's not anger management issues. That's not stress. That's not substance problems. That's intentional cruelty. That's enjoying causing pain. That's something darker than most people want to believe exists in someone known. Evidence is surfacing that proves this intentionality. Messages exist where one thing was said to you and something completely different to someone else about the same situation. Recordings exist where tone shifts dramatically depending on who's in the room. Documentation exists showing isolation happens strategically, not randomly. Financial records reveal money was controlled in ways designed to create dependence. Medical records show injuries you explained away, but that tell a different story. All of this is coming together into a picture that shocks even seasoned professionals who thought everything had been seen. The shock is also in what was stolen from you beyond the obvious. Time you can never get back was stolen. Experiences you can never reclaim were taken. Versions of yourself you can never return to were destroyed. Your innocence about human nature was stolen. Your ability to trust easily was taken. Your willingness to see the best in people was removed. Your comfort in being vulnerable was eliminated. Things were taken from you that have value beyond measure. Things that can't be compensated with money or apologies or legal victories. Who you are was changed fundamentally. And people are horrified by that theft. But here's what others miss in their horror. Yes, you're changed. Yes, you're different. But you're not ruined. You're not broken beyond repair. You're not damaged goods. You're someone who went through fire and came out forged into something stronger. You have wisdom now that can only come from surviving what you survived. You have discernment that can only develop from being deceived. You have boundaries that can only form from having them violated. You have strength that can only emerge from nearly being destroyed. The shock people feel when your story is learned needs to translate into action. And it is. People learning the truth are becoming advocates. Speaking up happens when excuses are heard being made. Information is being shared when appropriate. Support is being given to other victims who might be afraid to come forward. Accountability is being demanded from systems that failed to protect you. Shock is being used as motivation to create change, to be more aware, to ask better questions, to believe victims the first time instead of requiring overwhelming proof. Your willingness to let truth come out is giving permission to others who are still hiding their stories. Someone else who experienced abuse from a different person is watching how people respond to your situation. They're seeing the pearl, clutching, the shock, the support, the belief, and they're thinking, maybe I can tell my story too. Maybe I'll be believed too. Maybe I'm not alone too. Your exposure is creating ripples that extend far beyond your individual case. You're part of a larger awakening happening about the prevalence of abuse and the sophistication of abusers. The person who hurt you represents something bigger. A type is represented, a pattern, a system that allows certain people to hurt others with minimal consequences as long as the right image is maintained. And that system is being challenged right now, not just in your case, but in cases happening simultaneously across different contexts. There's a collective reckoning happening, a cultural shift in how abuse is understood and addressed, and your situation is contributing to that shift, whether you intended it to or not. The shock factor is strategic in a way. Shock breaks through apathy. Shock demands attention. Shock forces people to confront uncomfortable truths they'd rather ignore. When someone learns the details of what you endured, and their immediate reaction is clutching their pearls in disbelief, that visceral response creates memory. They won't forget. They won't dismiss it. They won't minimize it. They'll carry that knowledge forward, and it will change how they see the world, how they recognize red flags, how they support people who might be in similar situations. There's something powerful happening in the collective consciousness. Right now, your story is becoming part of a larger narrative shift. People are waking up to the reality that abuse doesn't look like what movies taught them, that abusers aren't always obvious monsters with no redeeming qualities, that victims aren't always helpless or weak, that leaving isn't simple, that survival takes forms most people never considered. And this awakening is creating safer spaces for others to come forward with their own stories. The professionals working on cases like yours are getting better at recognizing patterns, better at asking the right questions, better at believing victims the first time, instead of requiring mountains of proof, better at understanding trauma responses, better at seeing through the charming facade abusers present to the world. Your case is teaching them things that will help countless others. Your willingness to let the truth be exposed is contributing to systemic change you'll never fully see, but will absolutely feel. There's a ripple effect happening that you can't measure, but that exists nonetheless. Someone who knows your story is going to be more careful in their next relationship. Someone who heard what happened to you is going to check in on a friend they've been worried about. Someone who witnessed people's shocked reactions is going to take domestic violence more seriously. Someone who saw you receive support and belief is going to extend that same grace to the next person who comes forward. You're changing the landscape just by surviving and telling the truth. The person who hurt you is learning right now that charm has limits, that manipulation eventually expires, that lies have shelf lives, that the image they crafted so carefully can shatter in moments when truth emerges. And this lesson is going to follow them for the rest of their life. Not because you're seeking revenge, not because you're trying to ruin them, but because consequences are the natural result of choices. They chose to abuse, they chose to manipulate, they chose to destroy, and now they're experiencing what happens when those choices catch up. What's particularly shocking to people who are learning about your situation is the contrast, the difference between who you are now and who you were forced to become in that relationship. The light that's returning to your eyes, the strength that's rebuilding in your voice, the confidence that's re-emerging in your presence. People who knew you during that dark time and are seeing you now can barely reconcile the two versions. It's like watching someone come back from the dead. And in a way, you're resurrecting the parts of yourself that were buried under abuse. The shock also comes from understanding the timeline. When people realize how long you endured this, how many days you woke up in that nightmare, how many nights you went to sleep wondering if you'd survive, how many moments you had to smile and pretend while dying inside, the mathematics of survival becomes staggering. The fact that you made it through hundreds or thousands of days of systematic destruction and came out the other side not just alive but fighting to heal, that's what leaves people speechless. There's a specific moment coming for you, a moment when someone with authority, someone with power to make real change, is going to look you in the eye and say, "We believe you. We see what happened. We're sorry we didn't protect you, and we're going to make this right." That moment is going to feel surreal. You've imagined it, maybe hoped for it, but doubted it would ever actually come. And when it does, you're going to need to let yourself feel it fully. Let yourself accept it completely. Let yourself receive the validation you've been denied for so long. The compensation coming your way isn't just about settling scores. It's about the universe acknowledging that something precious was taken from you and something valuable needs to be returned. You lost years of peace. You're getting back wisdom that will serve you for decades. You lost confidence in yourself. You're getting back discernment that will protect you forever. You lost the ability to trust easily. You're getting back the ability to trust wisely. The exchange isn't equal because what you're receiving has actually more value than what was stolen. People are going to want to hear your story, not in an exploitative way, in a learning way, in a this could help others way, in a we need to understand how this happens way. And you get to decide what you share and what you keep private. You get to decide who deserves to hear your full truth and who gets the abbreviated version. You get to control the narrative now after so long having someone else control it for you. That power is yours again. Use it wisely. Use it protectively. Use it in service of your healing first and others' education second. The shock that people experience when they learn what you survived is going to manifest in different ways. Some will get angry on your behalf. Some will cry. Some will go silent as they process. Some will immediately want to do something to help. All of these reactions are normal. All of these responses are valid, and none of them require you to manage their emotions. You're not responsible for making people feel better about what happened to you. You're not obligated to minimize your trauma so they can digest it more easily. Let them sit with their discomfort. Let them feel the weight of what you carried alone for so long. But shock without action is just voyeurism, just morbid fascination, just entertainment disguised as concern. The people who are truly on your side are moving past shock into strategy. They're asking what can be done, what resources you need, what support looks like, what justice requires. They're not just clutching their pearls. They're rolling up their sleeves. They're making calls. They're writing letters. They're showing up. They're putting their shock to work in service of your healing and this person's accountability. There's a conversation happening behind closed doors right now that you're not privy to yet. People who have influence are discussing your case, not in a gossip way, in a protective way, in a how do we make sure this person can't do this again way, in a what resources can we mobilize way. These are people with connections, with authority, with the ability to open doors that seemed locked before, and they're using their positions to advocate for you because your story shocked them into action. Someone out there right now is in the early stages of what you went through. They're noticing red flags but dismissing them. They're feeling uneasy but can't articulate why. They're being isolated but haven't recognized the pattern yet. And when they hear about your situation, about how people responded with shock and support and belief, it might give them the courage to leave before it gets as bad as yours did. You're saving people without even knowing their names. What you went through is being exposed now. Truth is being revealed. Reality is being acknowledged. You're being recognized for what you survived, not just by yourself, not just by close people, but officially, systematically, cosmically. This recognition will feel surreal. You wondered if you were exaggerating, if it was really that bad, if you were too sensitive, but it was that bad. It was worse than you admitted. It was abuse, real, systematic, intentional, and you survived. You're still here, still standing, still fighting, still believing in goodness. Despite everything that was done, you're going to get paid. Not just money, though that might come, but validation, vindication, having your truth officially recognized, your pain officially acknowledged, your survival officially celebrated. The universe is settling accounts. Divine is balancing scales. Justice is being served, and you're receiving it. This is official. Authority figures, legal systems, governmental bodies, cosmic forces, all aligning to say you were wronged, and we're making it right. You were harmed, and we're providing remedy. You were abused, and we're ensuring acknowledgement. Receive this, chosen one. Accept this vindication without diminishing it, without saying it's not a big deal, without minimizing what you went through, without protecting your abuser. One more time. Stand in your truth. Own your survival. Claim your victory. Celebrate your freedom. Someone might try to come back as this unfolds, wanting closure, claiming to want to apologize, saying making things right is the goal. That closure is for them, not you. That apology is damage control, not remorse. That attempt is manipulation, not transformation. Do not give access. Do not give opportunity. Do not give one more chance. Someone is leaving your life permanently. The universe is removing them by forces beyond your control. Divine intervention is taking them out. They're being cut off, blocked, removed, not because you're doing it, because the universe is, because your ancestors are, because your higher self is, because it's time. And with their removal comes space. Space for real love, genuine connection, healthy relationship, reciprocal partnership, mutual respect, authentic intimacy, everything you deserved all along but couldn't receive while they consumed your energy. Close friends are entering your life. Real friends, they're horrified by what you went through. They're believing you without proof. They're supporting you without expectation. They're showing up for you like you've shown up for others. These friendships will show you what you were missing, what you deserved, what real connection feels like. Your intuition is being restored. Your ability to trust yourself is coming back online. Your discernment is sharpening. Your boundaries are solidifying. You're learning to recognize red flags immediately. You're learning that not everyone deserves access to you. You're learning that your energy is precious. Your peace is sacred. And you're learning to protect these things fiercely. The compensation that's coming isn't just about money. It's about the universe balancing what was taken. You lost peace. You're getting peace back multiplied. You lost confidence. You're getting unshakable self-assurance. You lost time. You're getting wisdom that makes every moment going forward more valuable. You lost innocence. You're getting discernment that will protect you forever. The exchange isn't equal because what you're receiving is actually more valuable than what was stolen. This isn't just one relationship ending. This is a pattern breaking, a generational curse lifting, a karmic cycle completing your healing for yourself. For ancestors who experienced similar abuse and never got justice, for future children who won't repeat this pattern, for past selves who needed someone to fight for them, for the collective, for everyone who has ever been gaslit, manipulated, abused, and silenced. The universe is fighting your battles now. Divine forces are interceding on your behalf. Cosmic justice is being served in your favor. Spiritual protection is surrounding you completely. Ancestral wisdom is guiding you forward. And all you need to do is stay open, stay willing, stay committed to your healing, stay committed to your truth, stay committed to becoming who you were meant to be before someone tried to destroy you. This is your vindication, chosen one, your moment, your season of justice, not just earthly, but divine, the kind that sees everything, knows everything, balances everything, the kind that can't be bought, manipulated, or delayed. It's here, happening now, and all you need to do is receive it. Stand in truth. Let the universe fight battles. Let divine restore what was stolen. Let karma work. Let justice unfold. You were never meant to carry this alone. Never meant to suffer in silence. Never meant to protect your abuser at your expense. The universe is correcting that imbalance. The scales are being balanced. Truth is being revealed. Lies are being exposed. Manipulation is being seen. Abuse is being acknowledged. You are being vindicated. Take a deep breath. You made it. You're here alive, healing, being vindicated. Justice is coming. Compensation is coming. Recognition is coming. Protection is coming. Freedom is coming. Peace is coming. Joy is coming. Love is coming. Everything you lost is being restored. Everything someone tried to destroy is being resurrected. Everything you thought was gone forever is coming back, transformed. Welcome to your new beginning. The universe has been waiting for this moment. Your ancestors have been preparing for this vindication. The divine has been orchestrating this justice. It's here. Stand tall. Speak truth. Accept what's coming. You were always worthy, always deserving of justice, always meant to be vindicated, because your chosen and chosen ones always rise. Always.